Hey everyone, welcome to your daily update for SOL and BTC. So weekend has gone by. We had our typical bad news tweet followed by good news tweet, which has given us our little pump towards the end there, which is quite nice. But unfortunately, a lot can change in the next few hours, and there's a couple of closes that are in a good spot, and there's a couple that not in a good spot, so we'll cover all that off. But looking at the liquidity, pretty classic weekend liquidity. SOL a little bit different. There's obviously this group to the downside. If we were to take all of this, down to the 180s again, that would just basically mean retesting the daily hold, and that 203, 204 area is that area that I've been saying now for the last couple of days. A little bit concerned about that area. There's a lot of stuff, just a lot of structure in that area. So it's just interesting looking at this, that maybe we get a final push up into that, take the 203, 204, and then head back down. It is also possible though, like from a bullish perspective, that we get up there in the next 4 hours, close over the top of it, and that really changes things. If we can actually start to close, particularly with some of the big weekly closes that we have today. So it's it's quite an important day overall. BTC, same sort of thing. We've got those clusters up there, 114, 115, 116 sort of area would basically be all of the daily stuff taken. And of course, it could dive down, to retest anything down to sort of the 108 based on daily. If we look at the 7-day, people are feeling, bullish again. There's a lot of longs that have come in. They've had them open now for a while. And as you can see, there's not a lot of 7-day shorts left open. So this is all just warning signs, really. If you have positive news over a weekend and the price starts to go up and longs start to pile in, then normally you're going to get some kind of reversal through the week. But it doesn't always happen. There will be that one time that it becomes the blow off top. Looking at the 30-day, there's still a good incentive to go and take some more of the upside on the 30-day, and that's probably the only thing I think that might push it back up a bit further. And that's as far as if it's to be bullish. To be bullish, you almost want it to go down first, just because you want them to leave this big block of BTC liquidity behind. If they just go powering through that liquidity, like all the way up to that 119 area, and then start to reverse, then you'd almost have to start saying, okay, we're going to see a major dump. So bullish would be retracements and then go back up to take the liquidity. Bearish is sweeps with candles that end up with big wicks on the top of them and big sell downs. So that's the kind of thing you're obviously not wanting to see. If they did do that on BTC, then that means they'd probably come up and grab this cluster of liquidity up here between 214 and 216 on SOL. And we've still got all those targets to the downside. They haven't happened yet. They will at some point. The question is just whether it happens, prior going to some all-time high, or whether it happens as part of the bear market structure. So we shall wait and see on that. As far as just low time frame cake building, as you can see, the BTC has been relatively sideways. There was that push up there, and then it's just been re-establishing more liquidity just to fill in this gap. And SOL's been very bullish. Been saying it for a few days now that it's just looked a lot stronger, but it's just kind of come up, and it's still got some very dense liquidity up in there. And you can see if they did push up to that 203, 204 area, they've nearly at that point taken everything to the top side. So it would make sense at that point to come down. So it's all transactionary. So if there's sells of positions up into these short stops or liquidations, then once they've sold, they don't want to go higher and buy it back. If they sell up here, then they want to go lower and buy it back, and then rinse and repeat. And that's why price ranges the way it ranges, and it goes up, pulls back, and then goes up higher and pulls back, and that's an uptrend. So if we are going to keep uptrending, It will generally never be in a completely straight line. There might be bursts and breakouts to move to new levels, but then ranging will continue from there. So see how that goes. All right, let's have a look at these charts. So SOLBTC Strength on the daily is in a good spot currently to break the trend, to build a hold level. The trend will shift to the top side, so if the wick is too long, then you'll probably get a rejection back down into that hold level. So you want it to close up a little bit higher than where it is now, so that it can open on the top side of the trend again. And that's how you get nice moves that just give continuation, is basically candles with small wicks on the top and then open over the top and bounce the next one, and then open over the top and bounce the next one, and just keep breaking through the trends. Whenever you start to get a big wick on the top, it becomes sort of semi bearish, and then of course if it sells down, doesn't create the hold level, and still closes yellow, that's really bearish, because then there's nothing to actually support the rejection of the trend. So that's all we're looking for on that today. And then of course we do have the weekly close. So weekly close is it's just been in the middle of nowhere, really, like from a weekly perspective. We're going to get some kind of interior downtrend forming, but it's not going to be bad at this stage because it can open on the other side of it. So much like the daily is not so flash as it currently stands, but could get better if it pushes up a little bit. The weekly is in a better position, but so if the daily rejects, all that would be is sort of like a retracement on the weekly to grab some of the liquidity before it actually, or in this case, lose some of the strength and let BTC have it before it actually pushes up. But we still haven't touched the next trend yet, so we're still kind of just in this box, really. So, okay, let's have a look at the safety assets. So that's pretty good on the daily. We like being under the trend. That's a good place to be if you want risk assets and altcoins to go up. So we're not going to move the trend though if we close here, and we could recover it, but the good news is that we are under the actual daily downtrend. So we're going to get a little bit of a interior trend forming as well today. So that's good. That means that it's actually the downtrend is intensifying, is probably the best way of actually putting that. So that's good. Does it mean you can get a dump in alts? Yes, 100%, because it hasn't lost this trend, and even if it did, it could come up and retest it. It could come up and retest the 66.72 level, but this is the level we wanted to be under. We're now under it. Next step is to hard close under it and then keep moving down. Could we then, like I say, could we come up and retest this new trend? Definitely. Then reject off it, hopefully, or it would probably be the case anyway. Looking at the weekly, so weekly is still just rejecting back off the trend. That's good. Nothing else changes. You almost don't want this to close blue. If it closes blue, we might then get a new interior support trend. If it closes yellow, then we don't, so that's good. Gives the opportunity for the next candle to close blue. If the next candle closes blue, you might get that interior uptrend forming, but you also get a hold level, and the hold level can then fight the trend and hopefully break the trend, and so on and so forth. So it's so this is good. This is good. If we want to see any more upside to risk assets, this is good. Okay. Let's have a look at these totals. Okay, so this is also good. So totals at this stage sneaking back up above that 1.52 level, which we spoke about yesterday. So that's what we want to see. Higher is obviously better. We did push up higher and we did reject off the resistance, and that's all normal, but really it's about what happens in the next 3 hours and 44 minutes. That was also a retest of the prior trend. So super bullish price action would be getting back up above these lines, and then we're into this open air space up here, but that means actually closing over sort of 1.54, 1.55. More likely is we don't. minimum, we really want to close over this break level here. And what level is that exactly? It is the 1.53 level. So we want to be over that 1.53 level. If we can do that, then at least the next candle has the chance of hard closing it. If we close under it, then the next candle could reject off it. It'd be very unusual for the next candle not to touch it, but if it didn't touch it at all, if it opened and just went straight down, it could convert it into an origin level, and then the next time it touches it, you get a big dump, and that would be very bad for the overall market of risk assets. But the next candle will most likely touch it if it closes here because it's so close, and then it's really a case of the week after that what happens. So, but overall, trend shifts to the top side today. Same thing really as the other charts. Same thing as every chart really. Structure is structure regardless of what you look at it on. If the trend shifts to the top side, it's about wicks, it's about hold levels. We have got a hold candle down here which could support price again. Like it's been tested here, but that's kind of what's referred to as an in-range test. So this candle can't really test this hold level because the hold level is to support a range. If it's only a 1 and 1 candle and it gets tested by the second one, it's not a range until the second candle closes. So this technically this could support price a second time, and that may be what's going to happen. We might actually get a close under here, or a rejection off here, and back down into this, and then a bounce, and they might prolong it a little bit for a few more days, have a pullback, maybe take out those longs that have opened up over the weekend, and create a little bit more fear, that sort of thing. So that could be what's going on there. Have a look at the weekly. So this is good, almost. You really want to be above that trend, So it's the same as the daily, really. The daily would be better if it could get over that 1.54, 1.55. Well, the weekly is the same. There is a little bit of, this is a wee bit misleading too, because there is a displacement in the bottom of these candles. So if you take this to this, which is your 0.01, and then you take that off the top side, e.g. if you just visually imagine shifting that candle down so it lines up on the bottom and that displacement's not there. If you do that, then this is actually rejecting off the backside of that trend, and it's not really up as high as you think, but it is just above, it is just above the level it needs to be to try and creep back into this range. And it'd be really interesting to see whether they sell that down before close in a few hours. If they do sell it down before close, that is ultimately quite bearish. It means that was kind of a bit of a fake overall move, and then they may just reject off the backside of this 151 and then head back down to here, which is kind of like a target left behind. But this is 100% high time frame support. So if we come back down there, it's a good place to look for entries again on risk assets. Okay, and now let's have a look at this just from another perspective, just DXY perspective. So that's looking good. It's just cutting through trends. So overall, this is looking pretty good. It has hit the break level. Some alerts. So yeah, ideally for this to be really bullish, it's wants to close over that 350.55. But it's not the end of the world where it is. Alerts. We're dumping. Of course, New York's closed, or the algos have switched off. We do have a range trend down here that hasn't been retested since hard close, so that could be, if this is to flip bearish in the next 4 hours, it'll be a case of pulling it back down under the trend, maybe under these horizontal levels, and then rejecting again. So that's what's happening there. We go over here. Same thing. Really a close over 3.53, 3.54, sorry, 3.54 is what we're looking for there. Bearishness would be to pull it back down under the trend. overall, these are the moves. There's someone mentioned in the Discord today, like, should we just be looking at how things close and what are the most high probability moves, etc., etc. And it's like, yeah, definitely. When regardless of where you are in a market, like if you're right at the bottom of the bear market and you just buy something and hold it and keep it for a long time, you're absolutely fine. When you're in a market like we're in now, waiting for a candle to close over this 3.45 level and then retest the level and then look for longs and then take a long, and expectations are it's going to go up to the next daily level, and that's exactly what's happened. So you just, are you looking for longs that day? Well, as soon as it taps that level, you're looking for longs to that level. As soon as that level gets tapped, you're out, and then you wait for your next tweet about beans, and off it goes. You get new structure after they tweet about beans. Okay, so weekly is pushed into the hold level. It's a little bit bearish. This is just if it just pulls back just a little bit before close, it's bad. But it could also just push up a little bit before close, and it's good. Overall, though, I think we should have some expectations of another dump, and even if it's only kind of like a double bottom, but we should. It's just when we get to the other charts shortly, it does look like it could happen, unless we can get just a bit more of a push up before the end of the day. Okay, let's have a look at BTC. So on the 1 day, it's really on the fence. So we've hit the break level, and for anyone new to watching these videos, I'll say it again: TP into break levels. you can always add if it gets over the top and closes, but any break level at some point could become an origin level, and it could become the top of the market. So on any time frame. So if you're trading on whatever time frame, TP into break levels. That would have meant that you would have taken profits in this on any daily moves into 113935, and you would patiently wait, and you'd see if we lose the trend. You'd see if we end up pulling back under these levels and continuing down. Either way, you're good. That's kind of one of those key things. TP into break levels. Did a live stream the other day, and I showed people how they could have actually just switched collateral between stables and BTC through the entire of the bull run, and just switched every time they hit a break level. They switched the BTC into stables, and they just keep using that as collateral for their leverage trades, knowing that the overall bias is up, for a long period of time. And it's quite amazing. There was only one level where you would have got tricked, and it didn't. And there was one other level that didn't actually play out. So, but outside of that, given that it was a daily basis, you were talking a lot of compounding of money. So, and same thing going on here. So we've hit that break level. We're either going to, in the next 3 and a bit hours, get over the top of that, or we're going to pull back under the trend, which would be bearish. Super bearish if we pull back under these horizontals. Either way, we really should at some point come down and retest this hard close range trend, which gets hard closed today. So if it stays above this range trend, then that creates a bit of a blow off top scenario, because it's going to at some point want to retest this one down here, and that means 110, even just on a daily basis, a short-term pullback. We have a hold level down here in the 109 to 107 area, which hasn't been used at all. We've got a trend that we've recovered, which we haven't retested. We've got a downtrend that's going to move today to the top side. So again, wick is important. If the wick is too long on this daily candle, then we could reject off the backside. If the wick is short, then it could open on the top and it could keep propelling up. And we have a prior broken trend just sitting up here slightly higher, about that 114, 500 area. So the outcome of this, really, for it to be bullish, is to get over that break level and close there. Then, of course, we can target this, which is the body of the hold, or we can target the next break level up here at 115, in that 115 area. So yeah, it could get bullish by the end of the day, but as it currently stands, there's a bit of risk in this because we're going to close potentially under that break level, which means it takes another 2 days to hard close the break level at an absolute minimum, because you need one to get above it, another one to hard close it, and likewise it would take another 2 days for it to become an origin rejection level, where the next one doesn't touch it, the next one hits it and dumps big time. So a daily origin probably won't start a bear market, but weekly origins have started the last couple of bear markets. There was a guy in the Discord actually who went through and he said every single bear market started with the same structure since as far back as he could see on the Bitstamp chart, which was basically all of Bitcoin. Okay, so let's have a look at the weekly. Okay, so this is why I'm struggling to be a little bullish. I'd like to be bullish. I see SOL as very bullish, and we'll get to that, but I am struggling to be a little bit bullish because we're going to shift this interior trend today. It's going to, if this candle closes blue, I mean, it's all if, because we've got 3 hours and 33 minutes to go, but if this closes blue and doesn't pull back up and creates a hold level here at 113,995, and if we shift the target, trend, which is a target for a hold level, if we shift it to the bottom of the candle, then we can trigger an almost instant dump after close, because we're really close to that price. We can hit that and then come all the way back down to that 104 area or dive it. I note we bounced off this range trend down here, which is a very sort of where was that from? Oh no, that's me doing that, sorry. I did that. So all we did was dive it. We retested the prior broken trend. What did we bounce off there? Nothing specific. Might have been a dive of that prior broken trend through there. So we could come down. Everything that has been tested in there, the more times you test something, the less likely it is to actually hold. So if we shift this trend down to here, and this creates this hold, the bullish scenario is just a little move between here and that range trend. It's running through the bottom here. A bearish scenario, of course, is a liquidity sweep of all of this all the way down to the 100K area or to the other trends, sub 100K. So it could just start as simply as we close this like this tomorrow, we move the trend, we do a little bit of an up, and we dump. It's as easy as that. We could do a sweep, which means all the way up to 118, and that would just be a prior a retest of prior broken trend. So like we retest this one to the downside, we could retest this one to the upside. But in doing that, we're also taking that entire block of liquidity that we've just spoken about at the beginning of this video. And if we do that and then come back down as per the hold level, you've basically just taken all of the longs that are in that between here and 119 or 118.9, and then you could dump all the way down into here again. So nothing different than this big looking candle that swept one direction than the other. Same thing could come next. We could see up, down. So just to go bullish, we really want to close this candle up. We want to get back over the top of that trend. That'll be bullish. Okay, if we don't do that, it's not really bullish. So we also do have some kind of topside trend up there, but won't worry about that at this stage. Okay, so and structurally this is basically the same. So if we look at our 23-day, we want to make sure that we are not closing below 113,899.9. If we do, then yep, we're creating another hold level. We're on the wrong side of the trend. We will break the interior trend today, and that could create a move to the downside. And why we really just want to see this go up. There's a lot of untested stuff down here. The most likely thing this would do is well, the most bullish thing this could do is bounce back to that sort of 109 area and then go up. The most bearish thing this could do is travel to the next array of the trend, which is 185, sorry, 85. So you've just got this huge scope for BTC to take an absolute dump off some of these closes, and we can't see the future, but I can tell you that when this type of thing happened on BTC during the consolidation phase between sort of the 50k and 70k area, it wasn't straight away that it went down. Like it creates the structure. It is on the wrong side of trends. I think our dump on BTC was about 2 candles later, and then we got the Germany news, and then it went and wicked straight down to the exact target of the dump, to within 10 cents on BTC. So sometimes these things just don't happen straight away, but they do happen, and a lot of it is there needs to be narrative for people to accept. And if there is no narrative because everyone is still really bullish, then of course it might just go sideways for a bit, may even go up, take all the liquidity, even more, people get even more bullish, and then it happens. So yeah, it's just structurally, all we can say today is that we just really want to be back up over 113,899.9, or we are yet again creating more reasons for BTC to take a nosedive. Okay, so that's all right. Let's see if we can find something bullish, let's look at the weekly. Okay, so weekly is pushing up into the hold level. It hasn't completed its dump back to 103 yet, but that is because it got the support here and it managed to hold that support around 108. So if we can get back up above these trends, if we can create a weekly hold level, and I think that's one of the differences. When we get to SOL, you'll see it. I think it is going to potentially create a weekly hold level today. BTC would have to get back up above this 114, 115 area really to be in a good position. At this stage, we are still technically rejecting off the downtrend. We are still stuck under a couple of range trends, and we still have a backside hold that is wanting to push us down to 103. So yeah, it's not really out of the woods yet on the weekly. Okay, this is good, the 2 week. So I had this in here yesterday, and we said basically we need that to go up a little bit. So at least the 2 week is not creating a hold level. As long as they don't sell it down below that 112,100 before the end of the day, that's better. It will break trends if it closes blue, which means shifting them to the bottom of the wick. But without the hold level to trigger the trend retest, then that's okay. If it closes to the upside or closes yellow, then it will move the interior trend. Once again, it's all about the size of the wick. Okay, so that's okay. But when you just thought you were safe to go camping, unfortunately, the evil monster appears. So this is our 3 week. 3 week needs to close over 115,222. As it currently stands, it's going to create a hold level, and it's underneath the range trend. This can create an almost instantaneous dump if it just closes around here, because it can just tap these things that are only, the range trend would be the closest at about 1138, 1139 sort of thing, or it could go up to the hold. But one way or another, this is not good. It's on the wrong side of the trends, and yeah, so it found support in this hold level. It will create, not on this time frame, but on whatever time frame that this candle is 2 candles, it will create some kind of range trend today that'll be down roughly in this area, which is also that is actually to the center prior, well, not quite to the center, but that is basically where it retested the prior trend. So we've retested the prior trend. If we create a hold level, you could see a double bottom off that. The hold level might come back down here to try and hit the trend again. So we really want this thing to get back up above the range trend. It'd be amazing if it got above the hold level. That just kind of means that everything is fake and that the intention is up. you know, if they get back up here. Okay. Oh, 6 week. Yeah, this would be a really good reason to close over 114, 151. If we don't, once again, it's more reason to have a repeat dump. We're going to get a range trend in here today. Okay, we therefore would have a hold, we'd have targets. The most shallow target would just be back to the trend here, which is, you know, that 110. The deeper targets would be back to 103. If they dive the range trend for liquidity, the prior range trend did not quite get retested, so if they dive that on the next candle, that's sub 100k. Okay, so that's real. And you've got your wick did the bounce here at 90. In fact, yeah, wick did do the bounce off that candle. Body hasn't been tested yet, so that's 96. Okay, so that's okay. 7-week close today. It's not too bad, apart from the fact it's failed to accumulate back to the trend. So this is a sign of markets getting close to really big reversals. When accumulation fails to touch the prior trend, that means that accumulation is failing, and that typically means that the next time you get up into this area, you are going to end big time. So basically, once it works through here, and it'll probably work through here, like this could be the blow off top scenario that everyone kind of thinks might not happen because there's a super cycle or whatever. But if this becomes a normal cycle, it will just come through here, take some liquidity, and then that'll be the end of it. It'll start the move to the downside, which means you have to kind of rethink. You have to rethink whether you trade these lower levels or whether you are buying these lower levels to hold them, because this structure to the upside tends to indicate that these levels to the downside are going to be bounces in what becomes a much bigger reversal. So this is pretty bearish up here. Okay, what else? And this is about the only thing that can really change the world today. If this closes over 117.224, it becomes a yellow candle. It becomes a hard close of the oldest trend on a really big time scale. And if that happens, buy the trend bounce, because there's nothing to stop it. It would be, I don't know what that would mean. That would mean an announcement that they're going to convert Federal Reserve gold into BTC or something. I don't know what they'd have to say to make that happen, but it could happen. We'll just never know. Just be ready if it does. Whereas this is probably much more typical. So this close here. So this is the hard close of the prior trend. This is again another candle that's hard closed over the prior trend. We've seen BTC kind of do this on the monthly, where it waited for the rest of the market to sort of be in sync because it was more bullish, and then it did its retest. But this would just mean that from a really bigger macro perspective, like a 21-week perspective, we should really be coming back to 95k just to retest that trend at some point. And then this little gap, just for future reference, this little gap that's been left down on this trend is probably going to be one of those areas you look at to buy if or to start laddering in if the timing's right, and if we do have a standard cycle and a bear market type thing. So all right, let's have a look at SOL. So on the daily, as mentioned, SOL is looking more bullish at this stage. So it's in a position where it's just kind of above the break level, so that's good. It's sitting just over the prior broken trend as if it's going to try and reclaim it, and it's left that little gap up there in that 200 area where it just didn't quite touch it. So if it closes over the break level, it could easily push up to that 200 resistance. Now it may reject there, like because it's not a hard close break level yet. It can still reject and it can still dive down below. There was a hard close of the daily range trend. It's had a retest on the next candle. Like this is signs that they're just not messing around. Like they created resistance, they close over the resistance, they retest it straight away, they go up. It's sort of just like, hey, look, we're trying to go up. So to the top side here, you've got the next array of your downtrend, which could reject it. So that's going to be somewhere around that 201-ish area, or it could push through to the range trend, which is getting into that 203, 204 area. And then the next thing is some bigger origin resistance at about 205. I think most of the confluence for rejection is at that 204 when we start looking at other timeframes. So we might get a close over here, a push up. It then all just really depends what happens. What happens in that day and how that daily closes as to whether you then get that next step, because all that higher time frame stuff that can push the price down, like I said in the previous videos, it can be continuously fought and eventually it can actually be reversed as long as every single smaller daily close is good, as long as it just keeps on closing good levels and keeps on moving up. And we all know that that's not really how crypto works. Eventually what happens, you just get enough candles. I think some people are like, oh, look, we've had 7 candles now, we're probably going to dump. It's true. Eventually it will just run into something and be like, yeah, okay, we really should go do that thing we left behind. But as it currently stands, it's looking good for the daily close. If they want to make it bearish, really it's just a case of bringing it down. It's not moving this interior trend today, so we don't have to worry about the wick. It's kind of if it does what I think it'll do, it'll probably give one more day, or at least somewhere in the next daily candle, it'll hit resistance that it does then adhere to, over that 24-hour period. And that's all kind of pretty normal market behavior, really. A bullish run over the weekend is typically reversed on the Monday, Tuesday. So we'll see how that goes. They might have left that little gap there at the resistance just for that reason alone, so that the next daily candle can tap it and go down. But we'll see how that goes. For the meantime, there might just be like a couple of bucks. You could scalp that on if you wanted to, or just do something at a lower time frame. So if it does dump, range trends, good place to enter. Retraces of actually that's not a broken trend, sorry. So yeah, if it does dump properly, hold level would be the ideal place, because if it does dump properly with the corner of the candle on the trend, it would try to get the next candle under the trend so that it could fight between the hold and the trend. Okay, so that's the daily. Now, if we look at some of the other closes today, like the 13-day close, we've got this super doji. We'll call it a super doji because it's really tight. It might be a hold level, it might not. It's 208. It's hard to know. If there's a tiny little gap down the bottom here, this time frame is really interesting actually, because you don't really know. You could check 10 different exchanges. Some of them might have that candle blue, some of them might have that yellow. Dojis are a pain. You don't really know whether they are what they are for structure. But let's just give it the benefit of the doubt and say it's a yellow candle. If it is, then it's a 208.597 hold level. We're back up above the prior broken trend, so that's pretty good. We've got, therefore, 236 up here as a resistance trend. We've got 216 as another level, and I think this one time frame doesn't have 204, which is kind of cool. At least there's one time frame that doesn't have 204 as a resistance level. And if we do hit that hold level, then most likely what will happen is we'll travel back to anything from 188 181, but we are creating high time frame support at 173. So the story of SOL right now is that the high time frame support is moving up, which is why it's quite bullish. Regardless of whether it has another dump, it's still quite bullish. 23 day. So 23 days on the wrong side of the interior trend. If it pulls back up above that trend today, once again, super bullish. But it is definitely going to create some kind of hold level. But we're up here at 223.9 for a hold level, so that's also very, very bullish. There's no real, there's no origin levels or anything on that time frame until we get all the way up to this top one, which would mean a pretty hardcore rejection if we hit 259.8. So yeah, I mean, if it does get really, really bullish, be careful at 259.8. You've also got the old trend coming through there at horribly at 253 again. So, and we haven't had a retest of that yet. And then you got range trends at 242 and 279. So, yeah, so we were creating some resistance. Probably if this went full bear, we're going to get this range trend down sloping that comes into play today. If it went full bear, it's going to reject off the 220s and it's going to head to, the 130s, 139. That would be full bear if it did that, but and we do have an untested body hold on this time frame, which is down here at 118. So yeah, it would be really nice if it got back up above that interior trend today, and then we could use trend to fight hold and not have to consider things like 174, 150, 136, bad numbers, eh? And 118. But yeah. Let's look at the weekly. So the weekly is looking better than BTC. It looks like it might create a hold. There might be, if it just needs to go up a little bit more so it can be up on top of that trend. But it's also saying, like, when we look at this, we're going back up into this overall range, and we never hard closed below it on the weekly, so it's saying it's a deviation at this point. So you could look for reactions at 194,100 as scalps, and you could look to take those up to, say, the wick of the whole candle, just to be very safe with the wick there, which is about 204, funnily enough. So I think you might find that we get a bit of movement between there, and of course, if they sell that down by the end of the day, oh boy, it's going to turn to custard, and this whole weekend was a fake out, Okay, the 2-week, it's in a position to open the candle on the top side of the downtrend, but it doesn't move the downtrend. So that's kind of cool. We don't need to worry about this wick being really long. We are going to create, if we close as a yellow candle, we will create a new range trend. We could reject off that range trend. We could reject off the backside of that interior. These numbers are all going to be about 20 somethings. It's hard to get an exact number on that because the cursor moves over here, but it's about, when that candle first opens, it's probably about 203, 204, somewhere around there. You could drill it down to a lower time frame and try to find it. If it goes up and hits that backside of that trend again, that would be about 206, 207, which is the absolute top of the low time frame liquidity that's on the board at the moment for the low time frame. So it's not out of the woods. Could still turn into something bad, but you know, we've closed back up above the break level. That's all quite positive. We're creating 161 as high time frame support. So these are levels you can enter on these levels. Like if it does, even if it's doing some real scary thing and they're going all crazy about, you know, the world macro or whatever, these levels are weekly high or 2-week high time frame support levels after this. So areas to put trades in on if they do go nuts with a dump. Okay, and the 3-week, here we go, 204. So the 3-week needs to get above 204. If it doesn't get above 204, it could just reject off the backside of 204. So don't like 204. You also got an up-facing range trend that we're back under. That's about 214. We haven't broken the downtrend yet, so we can still recover that. But there's a lot of resistance through here. Yeah, and that also shows we failed to move back to the trend. So some of these higher numbers, in fact, actually, this is a 244 as an origin rejection level after today on the 3-week time frame. So, you know, just be careful if this price starts to run up into that at speed, because that's kind of like October 10th stuff. Okay, so 6-week is under trend, which is about 205-ish, and it did bounce off the trend. It hasn't created that hold level. It has already had its first rejection off the 247 area. So if this can get back above the trend, then we should see those 247 longs play out, that are those fib targets that are in play. But there's so much stuff sitting up there to reject the price. You just got to be pretty careful of it. And that's, and there is a range trend in there, but it's not, I don't think it's that, because that's not a full candle. It could be more like that, which could be this rejection that we had here. But okay, so 7-week up to, so 7 weeks still under the downtrend, but it's moved back up above the origin support. So your 203-ish, 203-ish, 204-ish could trigger a move 188 or lower. We're also going to get a new trend forming in here today. So this is, you know, it could bounce from the trend. Sometimes these just become like large wedges like that. And what you might find is that there's something around the 50% mark, which, you know, it's already tested that hold level, but sometimes hold levels do support price more than once, especially if the break level hasn't been hit, which in this case it hasn't. So, you know, you might find that rejection off the backside of that trend comes back to the 188s, or even comes back a bit lower. Most bearish scenario is rejection up here, actually, because this level is not a hard closed level on the 7-week time frame. So a rejection of that trend could come all the way back down to the range trend here at 154. So it's there. The bull case is that you hit 188 and you bounce, and then you'd be looking at, well, if it can stay above the trend, you'd be looking at the topside trend. This, or the break level again at, you know, 237, or basically it starts to get, we've got a few big resistance levels, you know, in here, like as you can tell from looking at these timeframes. But once you get through those, there's just kind of this pretty decent air gap that can get you up into the 230s and 240s, and then we've got some untested high time frame resistance once we hit the 244 plus area. So Okay, and 14-week is what it is, right? We've got a trend running through here that we could reject off, which is 204, 205-ish. We've got the backside of the trend again. I mean, we can work all the way through that and get liquidity. That level at the top there, that 259.88 level, 14-week origin level after today when this candle closes. So I would have zero interest of holding any risky positions or opening longs. If we are approaching that level and the entire of crypto Twitter and every Discord out there is bullish and talking about retiring on things and going long forever, and should they get a mortgage to to buy, altcoins, then close your trades, sell, because you can buy it back if it gets over top of it, but yeah, that's a really high time frame resistance level sitting there, and it could well and truly end things. We also haven't retested this level down here at 109. So I showed a video the other day about or did it on a live stream yesterday, a little thing about building boxes, like what range are you in? And if we consider our 14-week range, that is the top and that is the bottom. So we're kind of just over the 50%. So that's bullish, and it probably means we are going to go up. And we might have to fight these resistances and get through them and get to these higher levels, but it's looking like it's going to close just over the 50%, and it's closing just over these downtrends. So, okay, we could retest these lower levels again. We could sweep the trends for liquidity. We are creating a new break in here today at 123. And we already know 109 is high time frame support. So, we're sort of moving up, and that's good and that's bullish, and this becomes sort of your new break level that has not been tested yet. So when we tested this one, it became high time frame support. We haven't retested it or bounced off it. We're now moving up to here, and the top side is becoming equivalent to the bottom side. But before we can have another break level to the top side, we need distribution. So really the only choices is that this keeps going up, closes over this level, and keeps going. Or somewhere in here it rejects and creates a distribution range, which could go for 2 14-week candles. So guess what? You're in a pretty big time of overall downtrend if that happens. Or we push up here, hit that, and that is the rejection that creates the next distribution range. And often what that would mean is that the break level would end up being slightly higher. So you might go through the top of the 259, and you would create a break level maybe up here somewhere. It could be like 270s or 260s or whatever. I mean, it could just keep going to the moon, but you create a break level maybe above that level. But within the 14-week period, you are back underneath there, you are lower down, you are creating a big blue candle, and then you get another big blue candle, and then it tests these lower levels to see whether they will confirm or convert into high time frame support. And then it can start going up again. So, and create another accumulation range. So it's from a really high time frame perspective, summary of all that is just be really careful if it gets near that 259, and anything past that, just remember you're pretty much on borrowed time, and unless it can close over it. So yeah, that's, I'll have a quick look at the monthly, and the monthly, which is coming soon, is just got to close over that 200 really, not create So the monthly will create a new range trend, and this is the thing that can create a dump just in a few days. We're going to get that range trend in there, and that's going to be sitting at about 140 something. If it creates a hold level here, it could move from there all the way back down to there again. So just keep that in mind. That's coming up, and that's why we want the monthly to be over 200 and not have a hold level. Okay, is there anything? Tesla. It's been a weekend. Let's see. Where's that Tesla one? Yeah, nothing happens on weekends, eh? But I am looking at. I showed this the other day, which is kind of cool and exciting. Just as a bit of a test case, let's just see if Tesla goes to 452, because this is charted off the weekly synthetic, whatever you call it, tokens that represent stocks. It'll be really interesting if this comes up here and hits 452.13 as part of a weekly hold, and we might have found a better way to actually chart stocks. But we'll see how that goes, and like and subscribe, and we'll might jump on a live stream again today and see if we can find some scalps and make some money, and see, maybe just go over the actual daily close as we get closer to the daily close. Yeah, I think every scalp we got an entry on yesterday has played out and paid out, which is good. And a few of them we just didn't get entries on, or I didn't get entries on because I was just too greedy, but it is what it is. And yeah, I'll catch you again. Cheers, bye.